I think the one advice that I would give students, irrespective of whether they want to do IP litigation, general litigation as a whole, is that be well versed with the judgments, with the law around you. It's changing drastically, and it's so easy nowadays to keep track of the judgments because you have so many blogs, so many publications which are giving you literally weekly updates. So it's not necessary people to do science to enter intellectual property, because intellectual property does not even just mean patents. Of course, it's a huge part of intellectual property, but it's not just that.
Right.
There are trademark law, there's design, there's now with so much of technology law that is, intersecting with intellectual property. There's copyright, there is media law, there's a lot more than patent. Like I always tell interns that go for a medium-sized firms or probably a boutique firms, because there the exposure would be far more than the big firm. If you want litigation, attend court. Wherever you're getting an opportunity, just attend court.
Greetings everyone, welcome to another episode of the DNLU podcast. Today we have with us Ms. Sonal Chhablani ma'am, and ma'am is an expert in intellectual property rights as well as media and entertainment law. She is currently working as an associate partner at TMT Law Practices in New Delhi. Ma'am has a varied experience. She is experienced in media law as well as intellectual property, copyright law and design law. She has an experience of more than 10 years of qualification, and ma'am has built an impressive career for herself in litigation and transactional law. She has completed her BA LLB from Guru Gobind Singh University in 2013, and ma'am has done her done her LLM from National University of Singapore in 2016 in the field of intellectual property. It's great to have you here with us, ma'am.
Thank you, same here.
So, ma'am, the first question that I would like to ask you is, could you please share your journey with us as to how you got into intellectual property and how did you find your niche in this area?
I think when I started, pursuing law, of course, it was never about IP. It was never about intellectual property because, I think as a subject, intellectual property is never given so much of importance. When you're studying, it's more about your constitutional law, about contracts, about so and so forth. So I was always fascinated and I always liked doing litigation. It was more for disputes that I was fascinated. It was never about intellectual property per se. So I started my internships in dispute resolution, and that's where the interest of intellectual property per se came into my life. And I followed it. And I did a couple of internships, liked the subject, and did more work. And then, started working with firms which were, dealing with more intellectual property disputes, whether it was Anand Anand or then it was, Singh and Singh in Delhi. And I did a lot of work which kind of like helped me, have a journey where it was whether trademark law or copyright law or patent in between or design or contracts, so on and so forth. It's a very interesting field because it's a very fast paced, like lot is happening, and with technology, there is a lot of new changes, and it's a very dynamic, field where things are changing very quickly.
Right.
So it keeps you on your toes, and I think I like that a lot. And of course, Delhi has a great opportunity for someone who likes these subjects and this practice area, because Delhi really gives you those interesting cases, whether it is in personality rights, whether it is about trademark infringement cases, whether it is about trade dress. We have really exciting cases in Delhi. So I think that really helped me in my journey to be in Delhi, to have such a great court, and such a great community, which kind of, fosters that interest in you. And I was lucky that, I had some really good seniors in my journey who helped me basically kind of understand my potential and my interest area in this field. And yeah, this is my journey.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. Ma'am, one question that everybody has in mind, most of the students have in their mind is, many students don't come from a background of science.
Correct.
So, if they want to pursue IP, since IP is growing tremendously and they want to pursue it, how do they go about that?
So I myself don't come from the field of science. I've not done science in 12th standard or for
Okay.
that matter in college. So it's not necessary for, I mean, people to do science to enter intellectual property, because intellectual property does not even just mean patents. Of course, it's a huge part of intellectual property, but it's not just that.
Right.
There are trademark law, there's design, there's now with so much of technology law that is, intersecting with intellectual property. There's copyright, there is media law, there's a lot more than patent law. Yes, for a patent attorney, it is, I think, important to have a science background, but I know a lot of people who are doing patent litigation who did not have science background. But there are patent agents who help them, but they are the ones who are more working as a litigators.
Right.
So it's not necessary, but yeah, I mean, as a patent attorney, it is important to have science background. But there's so many dispute resolution lawyers in IP who do not have science background and doing really well. So it's not a mandatory requirement, is what I would say.
Okay, ma'am, that's such a relief to hear. So basically, most of us, I've also done my internship in IP, and most of them come from a background. They have a BSc, and then they're doing
So
it.
you're talking about people who are working as patent agents.
Right.
So that's a different field. That's a very technical field. And according to me, it didn't excite me when I also interned with patent agents. What excited me was dispute resolution. Now, in dispute resolution, you have general disputes, you have commercial disputes, you have intellectual property disputes. So I was drawn more towards intellectual property disputes. Now, for intellectual property dispute lawyer, there's no requirement for anyone to have science background. There are a lot of lawyers who are arguing patent matters and do not have science background. So yeah, it's not a mandatory requirement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, ma'am. So another question which I wanted to ask, since you have such a varied experience in entertainment law as well as IP, so how does IP strategies come into play in the media
In media
contracts?
So of course, in the media contracts, what you look at from the perspective of copyright more. How do you protect your company or let's say, for instance, if you're working for a production house or you're working for an artist, so then how do you protect their copyright? So for that, you need to have strategy where you have to have clauses which kind of helps them protect their copyright, and make sure that there is a very clear-cut license clauses as well. So there is a huge fight about what is due to authors. Like, for instance, there's law is still not settled about authors. When I say authors, I mean authors of a literary work or a musical work. So law till date is not very settled there. There are contrary judgments that are in play. But so when you are representing, let's say, an author who's for instance, like Javed Akhtar, so very important for you to make sure that the contracts do have clauses which ensure that they're royalty clauses.
Right.
They're entitled to royalty, because post 2012 copyright law has undergone many changes which many people even till date do not have a clear understanding about.
Of course.
There are not enough judgments also to give you clarity on it. So you need to make sure that the agreements are very crystal clear on the clauses of licensing, on the clauses of royalties, on the clauses of what is the copyright of your, let's say, if you're representing an author, and if you're representing a production company, then you have to make sure that the agreements are not contrary to law. Because post 2012 copyright amendments, there are many clauses, many sections that have come into play where they say that if you do not, if you don't have share the royalty with the authors and you have an assignment agreement with the author, then those agreements are void in law. So you make sure that those agreements are in consonance with those 2012 amendments and what is there in law. So, of course, right now there's no settled law because there have been contrary judgments which are in appeal pending. But you have to make sure that the agreements protect those interests of an author, of the production house company. And also you have to make sure that, the agreements also have clauses. Like, for instance, I had a very interesting case where I was representing a production house company, and they were making an ad film. Now, when they were making an ad film, it so happened that they were the one who had to. So they had a contract with the, let's say, ad agency as well as with the client. Like, let's say they're representing Hero Honda. They're making an ad film for Hero Honda. Now, in that ad film, it so happened that there was an actor who had to be part of the ad film. And at the last minute, the actor decided not to come. Now, production house there's a lot of money that goes into, let's say, booking a place, booking the shoot, booking the artist. And the last minute, the main actor decided not to come for the shoot. Now, you have to have clauses to protect, these circumstances, where if there is a cancellation of the shoot, then what kicks in? How do you protect your interests? So if the production house company did not have a clause where those interests are protected, where the money that they spent were not make sure that that money was saved and, somebody had to pay for it and not production house himself had to be, paying that money. Those clauses are extremely important. You have to take care of all these events. Like, for instance, a lot of times it happens that rain happens. Now, a shooting gets cancelled. The cancellation charges are supremely high. So you have to have clauses where, in case rainfall happens, then who has to be blamed? Like, who will be the one who will be paying the money? Whether it would be the client, whether it would be the person who has cancelled it, whether it would be for instance, in rain, it has to be the client. It can't be the production house. It can't be the talent. It can't be the artist. It has to be the client whose product you're advertising. So these are very small practical issues that you come across when you're doing media contracts, because a lot of times when you're doing contracts, you don't see those practical issues because you're not the one who's dealing with them as a lawyer. But as a lawyer, it's your job to understand these interests of your client and make sure those are protected.
Everything is covered, basically. Okay. Thank you for simplifying it so much, ma'am. Okay, so ma'am, last question that I would like to ask you. What is the one advice that you would like to give us students if we want to join IP litigation?
I think the one advice that I would give students, irrespective of whether they want to do IP litigation, general litigation as a whole, is that be well versed with the judgments, with the law around you. It's changing drastically, and it's so easy nowadays to keep track of the judgments because you have so many blogs, so many publications which are giving you literally weekly updates. So be aware of what's going around you. Earlier in our generation or even a generation before us, there was no way. The only way was AIR manuals, or the only way were those big hefty books.
Right.
But right now it's just a click away for the current generation to just be aware of the judgments, be aware of the developments, because it's very important when you join the profession, considering so much is changing, and it's not just a textbook, curriculum that what you read in your college. It'll help you in your profession. You have to be well aware of the surroundings, well aware of what is happening, the developments that are changing. So every day there is a change in position of law. And that because of the technology especially. So it's very important for, I think, the students to be aware of those developments and keep themselves updated. So that is one advice.
And what about internships?
How to get them?
How to, approach internships? Like how do we nitpick what we should do if we want to get into IP litigation?
So I feel like don't go for big firms. Like I always tell interns that go for a medium-sized firms or probably a boutique firms, because there the exposure would be far more than the big firms. Like you will go to these, let's say for instance, Anand or let's say Sai Krishna, or the big ones, right? The Khetans. They have enough resources. They're not like looking to mentor you, or they're not even looking for resources. So don't go for these firms which are already, too full. Go for the firms which are medium sized or small boutique firms. They will give you a lot of work. They'll give you a lot of exposure. They will, and in that journey, you will discover what you like, or more importantly, what you dislike, and how you want your journey to be.
Right.
Correct. The second is how to approach the internships. I think the best way to approach internships is that you write, blogs, LinkedIn updates. And this, so, as I said, technology has made things so easy that, you can connect with people in a much easier, comfortable way. I know like a lot of people who have connected with me through LinkedIn for an advice. I have given my advice. But depends how you're connecting also. I mean, if you're going to like pick up, write a message at 11 p.m., nobody's going to look at it. There's a way of doing things as well. You have to have, the message has to be properly done. Again, you guys are lucky you have ChatGPT also to help you. So, I mean, just make sure those messages are not coming at 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. Like I know a lot of people messages me at 1 a.m. as well. So of course, I don't check my LinkedIn, but it's just, even when you get up in the morning and you check a message coming at 1 a.m., you're like, you're not going to respond to that. So these are basic things. Go and attend courts. If you want litigation, attend court. Wherever you're getting an opportunity, just attend court.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, you have judicial clerkships also. If you get an opportunity, and there are procedural, way to apply for it, go for it. These are like handful of tips to kind of like get into the circle, approach the right people. LinkedIn people everybody is active on LinkedIn. So like partners, every partner that I would know, and every good lawyer is active on LinkedIn, especially post-COVID, everybody is active. So like if you write good updates, if you write good blogs, if you write and you read and you write articles, people are going to notice. And this is how you crack, and probably you can ask for an internship there. Right? And more often than not, people will give you chances. And at that internship, how you do and what you do is up to you. Like I have an intern very recently who's from a specific law college, and he's been working with his law college, on a virtual internship. And these small things get noticed, right? Like he would work even at odd hours. Not that that's a great thing, but it just shows your commitment towards,
the work.
Towards work. And that is what is required, especially when you're starting your journey. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for all the insights, ma'am.
Yeah.
It was lovely to interact with you.
Thank you.
I hope we have such more collaborations in the future as well.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.